Hello, all you awesome people out there. Welcome back to the channel with me, your host, as always, Geek Viz Hoove. And we have ourselves yet another, that's right, another gaming related episode here today. Because today, the hammer finally came down. If you don't know, or if you've been living under a rock, allow me to enlighten you. Um, so this might come out before the other video, but I just did a big long video about kind of the domino effects that kind of led us to, Sony's shit and Rockstar shit and Nintendo shit and all the kind of anti-consumer shit that's been going on in the gaming space as of late. But I intentionally left Xbox out of that video because Xbox has been dealing with their own self-inflicted brand of shit that they've been dealing with and cleaning up here. So we're gonna talk about that here today. So if you don't know, lately Xbox has been dealing with some issues. After a low key a really great showcase that they did during like the summer game stuff. Um my glasses are rubbing against my earlobe and it's fucking with my ears. Uh, After a really great showcase that Xbox did a couple weeks ago during the whole Summer Games Fest, summer, showcase stuff. There were announcements that Microsoft was now basically meeting up with a bunch of their studios, but the studios that they bought, by the way, and they were kind of discussing the future of what these studios are and what their relationship is with Xbox. Amongst those, it was Ninja Theory, who's known for doing the Senua, the Hellblade games. They literally just had announced Hellblade 3, which they was just calling Senua. Ninja Theory, Double Fine, the makers of Keeper, Kiln that just came out, Psychonauts, amongst other things. And then the other studios were Compulsion, who did who just released South of Midnight last year. I'll say it again, and I said it multiple times. South of Midnight, one of my favorite games that released the last year. So yeah, so after a great thing, Asha, of course, we know we had the big thing. Asha Sharma is now in control of Xbox after Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond were out. Asha is now the new CEO. Matt Booty is now her new right hand. So they're kind of trying to right the ship. Like I said, their summer event was really good. Gears of War E-Day looked very great. Showed off a little bit more Fable. Yeah, so it was like they're putting Xbox trying to right the ship for Xbox. But then of course all this stuff hit, and now we were kind of worried about what all this shit could mean. Then more news came out a little bit after that. That they did announce that Undead Labs, the creators of State of Decay 3, they were also now on the chopping block. Again, they just announced State of Decay 3 at the summer event. I forgot to turn my music on, my bad. They just announced that at the summer event. So again, another very strange decision to now be kind of putting this game on the chopping block. But the worst, the absolute worst for me, at least, for a nice set of other people out there, probably felt the same way. But the absolute worst part about it is that then news came out that that another studio and another game were also on the chopping block, and this time it was Arcane Studios and Marvel's Blade. Of course, they announced Marvel's Blade, I want to say 2 years ago, maybe. Super hyped for it. Arcane Studios known for doing the Dishonored franchise as well as Deathloop. Really like that. Really like this stuff. I kind of got into Dishonored a little late, but I played it. Fucking loved it. That game was great. So yeah. So then we kind of got the news that this was also on the chopping block. So it was very, excuse me. It was some very very worryful and worrisome time for Xbox for a while. All of this happened about late last month. The news that by the end of their quarterly reports, we would know the decision, and the quarterly reports came up around July 7th. So I think that's when we thought that the big announcement was coming. But today, on July 6th, we finally got to the news. Shout out to Jason Schreier and Bloomberg, as today it's been revealed what the heck is actually going on. I'm gonna pull up his video here too. We might watch a little bit of that as well. Yeah, there it is right there. So, announced today. Oh, Lord, it's out of my face. So, announced today, Microsoft's Xbox is to cut 3,200 jobs and divest 5 studios in a major overhaul. Compulsion and Double Fine will become independent, while Undead Labs and Ninja Theory will be sold. Xbox will look to sell or spin out Arcane Studios. Some of our main takeaways: Xbox eliminating 3,200 games, or around 20% of its staff over the next year, as part of the massive reorganizing to spur growth in the struggling gaming division. So we are, of course, to nobody's surprise, motherfuckers losing jobs, and I think we all knew that was coming. Xbox will divest 4 of its video game development studios and is beginning the process to part ways with 5th, with the goal of streamlining the business and reinvesting in bigger projects. The changes at Xbox are a part of a large restructuring at Microsoft, which announced a total of 6,400 jobs cut across the company, with Chief People Officer Amy Coleman suggesting that more divisions will see similar restructurings. Quote, "Our business today is not healthy," Chief Executive Asha Sharma wrote in a note to staff Monday morning, adding that Xbox is operating at margins 3 to 10 times lower than comparable businesses. "We must reset Xbox," she says. Man, I feel like I'm super fucking dark. We'll fix it later. This is very spur of the moment right now. At Xbox, around 1,600 jobs will be eliminated on Monday, the rest over the next 12 months, according to the letter. The reductions come amid another 3,200 layoffs at Microsoft outside of Xbox, largely among sales divisions. They are being fueled by changes in how products are built and what customers want, Chief People Operator Amy Coleman wrote. All right, hopefully that is a little better. Microsoft shares fell 1.7 at 9:55 a.m. in New York. The goal at Xbox is to streamline the business and reinvest in bigger projects, Sharma wrote. The most significant move yet for Sharma, who became CEO in February, inheriting what she has described as a business in distress. You say that shit again. Despite making big investments, including the 69 nice purchase of billion-dollar purchase of Activision Blizzard in 2023, Xbox has struggled to release hit games, seeing hardware sales significantly decline and face an increasingly tumultuous market. Last month, Sharma wrote in a mail to employees that Xbox's accountability margin, the metric Microsoft uses to reflect profit margin, has fallen 3% and that annual revenue had plummeted. Going forward, this cannot continue, she wrote then. In all, planned cuts across Microsoft announced Monday total about 6,400. That amounts to less than 3% of the total headcount of about 228,000 jobs. Coleman suggested that more divisions of Microsoft will see these kinds of restructuring. Quote, "We are still early on this journey and there will be more changes ahead. Other parts of our business will need to make similar changes," she said. The world's largest software maker is spending huge sums on data centers to power AI work, leading to austerity. What? Hold on.
Austerity.
A set of political, economical policies implemented by government to reduce budget and control public debt. Oh, tariffs. Austerity, leading to austerity in other parts of the company, means they're taking money from other parts of the company to funnel more money into the AI branch. Microsoft engaged in 2 waves of major job reductions last year that affected a total of about 15,000 workers. Reducing headcount has been a common tech industry approach to save cash. It's always bullshit. The changes of Xbox will have significant repercussions throughout the video game industry, where the organization competes with Sony's PlayStation and Nintendo. Xbox has also suffered from the global AI-fueled chip shortage, which has led all of the gaming hardware markets to raise prices last year. Last month, Sharma told staff that the division is expected to pay 5 times as much money in storage in 2027 as it did in 2024. Xbox will sell the studios Ninja Theory and Undead Labs to undisclosed buyers. Both studios will continue to work on their current projects, Cinema and State of Decay 3 with Xbox. You know, it's funny, that's funny that that's happening, because in Schreier's last video, when he was talking about the state, this would hear how things got so bad at Xbox, he mentioned the fact that sometimes these studios will announce games knowing that they probably aren't anywhere near being done or on the verge of being released. And he mentioned that they typically just do that as a means to get the investors and the publishers to sort of to loosen up their pockets a little bit, you know. They do it to kind of sell the fact that we are working on something. We do have something in the pipeline. They use the trailer to sort of gauge interest from the consumers and gamers as a whole. So it's interesting he said that, because the two studios that were sold are the two studios that have projects in the works that, again, were showcased at that summer showcase a couple months ago with Cinema State of Decay 3. So that's really funny and really interesting. I think really holds up to what he was saying. Two other studios, Double Fine and Compulsion Games, will be spun out and returned to private ownership under their founders. Sharma wrote that these two studios will receive runaway funding, full ownership of their intellectual properties that they have developed, including the catalogs of previous games. That's really fucking good. So they gave them a little money so that they can stand on their own for a little bit. They gave them all their IPs back. So low key, I've been wanting to buy South of Midnight for a minute because I enjoyed the game so much. So I have been wanting to buy it. Low key, I'm about to do that shit now, because now the money is going to Compulsion as opposed to having to cut Microsoft a check. Unfortunately, which I might have to do anyway, because I don't know if this means that the game will stay on. Now that I mentioned it, I do wonder if now what's going to be the fate of these games being on Game Pass now. So is their catalog going to be taken off of there now? Are they going to keep it and continue to pay the studios to keep the game on there? I'm interested about that now. Sharma wrote that these two studios, just right there. Xbox will also begin consultation process with Arcade Studios, who's doing Blade. They're based in Lyon, France, to quote, review potential strategic options in the coming months in hopes of selling or spinning out the studio. Unlike the other four studios, this process has not yet started and will take longer than the others due to stringent French labor laws. All five studios were purchased by Xbox former CEO Phil Spencer, who oversaw a spending spree over the last decade that scooped up small market games and large publishers like Activision Blizzard, ZeniMax, who's Bethesda, and the parent company of Arcade. His hopes was to use their games to boost the popularity of Xbox Game Pass, the company's Netflix-like subscription program for video games, but growth of the service plateaued. Sharma wrote that no publicly announced projects will be canceled as part of the restructuring, but cuts will take place across the entire organization, including studios that Xbox is retaining, in part, quote, to focus on higher priority projects. Alright, so we're kind of almost done here. Instead, I'm gonna jump over to Jason Schreier, and we're gonna kind of go to this video and kind of see what he's talking about here.
Hello. Today, after several weeks of rumors, we are finally seeing what is actually going to happen at X Video Games as part of that. And in order to bolster that lineup and see continued growth, he went on a shopping spree and bought a bunch of these studios, including the 4 that are getting divested, and also ZeniMax, the publisher behind Arcane. And he wanted to add all of those games to Game Pass, and then went on to buy Activision and add Call of Duty to Game Pass. That strategy did not pay off, and Game Pass did not grow to the expected rate. Game Pass plateaued. Did not see the growth that he wanted. He wanted it to reach 100 million users. Instead, it capped out around 35 million users, according to estimates. They stopped revealing exactly how many people were subscribed to Game Pass, which, as I mentioned before,
reaching 100 million subscribers is crazy. Like, even though it's a platform that hosts a bunch of other games on it, I don't know, 100 million seems to be so unrealistic, especially for gaming. When you got people on different platforms, especially with like I mentioned, I don't know which video is going up first, but PlayStation is dominating the console market right now. So you aren't getting a bunch of players on the Xbox console. Steam also has the monopoly on the PC market. So I noticed there's going to be a bunch of people who don't even really fuck with the Xbox app like that, even with Game Pass. So 10 million is just such a it's such a long stretch pipe dream of a goal. Like, honestly, I would have said about 20. I'd have said let's try to get 20 million. Let's make that the goal, and we'll see how things go. And we'll go from there. and then see if we can get some more growth from that. Like low key, 35 million low key is not bad. It's just, of course, the issue was these motherfuckers spent all that money buying Activision, Blizzard, King, ZeniMax, all the
Usually, when a
shit you just
company
mentioned.
doesn't reveal numbers anymore, that is a bad sign. And of course, this is all coming amidst a landscape where the Xbox hardware has been in decline, has been struggling a lot over the last decade, and that is before this current chip crisis that has led to just complete devastation, a cataclysmic chip crisis thanks to AI, where hardware prices are skyrocketing, availability is becoming a serious problem. And as Asha Sharma said in a previous note, not today, but a few weeks ago, they are expecting to pay in 2027 5 times as much for memory and storage as they did in 2024. 5 times as much for memory and storage. That is pretty bonkers. So this is a pretty crazy time. The one thing that is worth noting about this announcement that I think is particularly interesting, an interesting decision, I'll say that much, is that there are 32 jobs being cut in Xbox, but only 1,600 of them are being cut today. The other 1,600 include the studios that are being divested from, and also jobs that are going to be eliminated over the next 12 months, over the rest of the fiscal year. In other words, if you are still at Xbox, or if you are still in one of these orgs, and
I feel he's about to say the thing I was about to say, so I'm just gonna cut in and say it first. So these 1,600 jobs that they're cutting is across the entire year, which means literally there's for the whole year there's gonna be motherfuckers who have to come into work every day on fucking pins and needles, butthole clenched tight as hell, worrying that is today the last day I work this job. That's fucking crazy. That's gotta do wondrous things for morale over at over at Xbox.
you are not laid off today, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to be part of that next wave of layoffs that is going to happen over the next few months, which is a really difficult position to be in. It is really tough to be working on any part of any organization, let alone creative endeavors. It's really hard to make great art, to make great games when you're constantly worried about losing your job. It's really hard to put your all in and be willing to put in maybe extra hours or put in.
Yeah, that's a good point. And why would you be willing to work or even work hard? Like, imagine you are in the middle of a project and the whole time you're like, I could be taken off this thing any fucking moment. My whole team could be just removed from this at any moment. Not even from the workers, but also from department heads, creative directors, the narrative team, the environment team, the combat team. Imagine you got to come into work every day, work on this fucking game, and you don't know if when you come in tomorrow, a massive chunk of your team is going to be laid off. Yeah, that makes you not even really want to fucking come in. And like I said, it's gonna make the art suffer.
In all of your energy into something without knowing if you're still going to have a job next month or next week. So that is going to be hanging over a lot of people in the coming weeks and months. And then, of course, we have 1,600 jobs being lost today all across the organization. So that 3,200 comprises about 20% of Xbox. Xbox was about 16,000 employees. They are now going down to about, let's call it 12,800, something like that. Still a big organization, but getting significantly smaller. And this is an organization that had gotten huge, largely due to this spending spree that the previous regime went on. Activision Blizzard alone was, I believe, close to 9,000 people that were added to this organization back when that deal closed a few years ago. So what does this mean for the future? Well, clearly Xbox is not going to be in the business of making independent style games anymore. Games like what Double Fine makes, what Compulsion makes.
Yeah, like, man, that shit is over. Let me pull up my. I still have Game Pass. So like there's this game called Winds of Art. I do my website. I don't do my damn full window thing. Nope, that's not what I want. All right, whatever. But yeah, so I'm on. Oh shit, that changed this. My bad. Is this the right one? That's not the right one. Damn, I done fucked up my whole shit. Hold on. There we go. So I don't forget what I was saying. Oh, so I'm on the Xbox Game Pass right now. So there's a game like Winds of Arcana Ruination. Abyssus, just the Frog Squad. I don't know what the fuck that is. I fully expect to see a lot less games like this coming to Game Pass, more to focus on shit like Call of Duty and the Forzas and the Rainbow Six Siege and what else we got on here? FIFA. Anything that's coming from the partner. So, Gears, Avowed, Elder Scrolls, Indiana Jones. I expect to see more of those to stay on here. But these little smaller indie shit, Donut Country, it's Annapurna, but still, I expect to see. We're probably gonna see quite a few less of those on the Game Pass.
And clearly they are not that interested in single A, triple, double A, whatever you want to call it, that kind of middle tier of games that has not really led to big results for them, and it has not led to growth, even though it has led to some critical acclaim. Last year's Keeper from Double Fine was nominated for some awards, won some awards, didn't get the most like top rave reviews from critics. I thought it was pretty cool as kind of an interactive piece of art, but was generally liked and acclaimed, I would say. South of Midnight, same thing. Again, not universally acclaimed by every single critic. You look at that Metacritic score, it's not in the 90 plus range or anything like that, but it won some awards and was well received. I think it was one of those games where like if you like people who loved it really spoke to them, which I think is an interesting, like I think that's a good thing for art to be a little bit polarizing and maybe not appeal to everybody, but to appeal very much to the people who it really speaks to. So that stuff is not going to happen anymore. We are going to see a pivot to focus on some of the biggest franchises. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to be making new things, and they are incubating some new IPs. Most notably, one that comes to mind that I think they have been pretty public about is that Activision has a game in development that is under a studio called Elsewhere in Poland. I believe a lot of it is ex-CD Projekt Red people, and they've said that it is an unannounced new IP RPG that they are working on. So Xbox still is investing in some new IP. It's just they are not going to invest in that kind of independent AA model anymore. They're focusing on big franchises, and that's what we're seeing, especially at ZeniMax, where we're going to see a really big overhaul. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start focusing more on trying to get more Fallout games out on a more regular cadence, trying to get more Elder Scroll games out on a more regular cadence, because those are two franchises that are humongous, but have not really been what executives like to call, quote, exploited in the way that, I don't know, an Activision or another studio.
AKA AKA expect the Bethesda jank to never go away. If Bethesda already works super slow for their shit to still be unoptimized and buggy and glitchy as hell and all that Bethesda jank in there for as long as they take now, if now Xbox is gonna put their ass on the fire and make them produce these games faster to get them out quicker, oh boy, you can fully expect that Bethesda jank to be present and ready, boy. It's
Studio
gonna
might
be
use them, might
it's
exploit
gonna
them.
be ugly.
And I mean, I think any kind of objective observer might look at something like Fallout and say, wait a minute, there hasn't been a new single player Fallout game since 2015. There hasn't been any new Fallout game since 2018, despite this hit show on Amazon that has been going for the last couple of years. What is going on here? Obviously, there's this reported remaster that's going to hit at some point in the near future, but aside from that, the lack of new Fallout games I think is pretty striking, and it makes sense that they would want to invest in more of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that goes to show that either A, Bethesda did not think that show would take off as big as it did. They probably didn't have, they might not have had a lot of faith in that show of being as successful as it turned out to be. Or B, Bethesda they afraid of money. They just don't know how to do business. Because I agree, the fact that they have not been able to like really capitalize on the fact that the Fallout show has been as good and as popular as it is low key kind of fucking crazy. Naughty Dog, on the other hand, be on top of that shit. They dropped that Last of Us show. They didn't skip a fucking beat by releasing the 53rd Last of Us remaster. But the fact that we've got no Fallout with the success of the show is kind of crazy. Like I said, either shows that they didn't really have a lot of faith that the show would take off, or they just fucking slow, I guess.
Focus more on these big franchises. Worth noting once
I
again,
think the only thing they had was they had a fucking Fallout 76 like crossover thing. But who the fuck's still playing Fallout?
despite
76?
rumors you might have seen on the internet, Xbox still is investing in Doom and Wolfenstein and Quake. So it is not just Fallout and Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls, of course, that is Elder Scrolls 6 is the next big game from Bethesda Game Studios. Don't expect to see that for a little while still. I think they've been very clear about that, but that is another one that they are seeing as a big bet moving forward. The other big part of this is Minecraft. So what's happening
go a
with
little
Minecraft is
faster
interesting.
for
So Minecraft, as I
uh,
mentioned, the studio behind Minecraft,
Elder
Mojang, is going
Scrolls
to be
6.
reporting directly to Asha Sharma, and it seems like Xbox wants to invest more in the Minecraft ecosystem. Minecraft has been extremely successful,
Okay,
by
Mojang
far
getting
the
the
most
Kevin
successful
Feige
of the
treatment.
acquisitions that the Xbox regime has made over the last 15.
Again, that's another thing. Makes a lot of sense. The movie has been extremely successful. I feel like Minecraft has always kind of stayed a very successful revenue stream for Xbox in the years it's come out. It stayed in the zeitgeist, it stayed pretty popular. Now the movies come out and pushed it to a whole another stratosphere. So of course they're gonna want to capitalize on that. They got the sequel coming out, I think in like 2028 or something. So of course they're gonna try to capitalize on that. That makes a lot
Years.
of sense.
Minecraft and Mojang was actually the first
Fucking
one.
pay
They bought
attention,
Minecraft in
Bethesda.
2014. It was one of the first moves done under the Phil Spencer regime after he took over. I believe they bought it for around $2.5 billion, which was a steal in retrospect because
Minecraft
that
is
game has
60 Rock
continued to perform
Studios,
extremely well
studio.
and make a lot of money for the company over the last few years. Plus, it's got its own movie tie-in, which also made $1 billion at the box office, and there's a sequel coming. So huge franchise. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Xbox start looking at Minecraft as its own version of Roblox and invest in that to try to create its own sort of platform, its own sort of ecosystem to take on something like Roblox. I don't know
Just
how
keep the
feasible it
pedophiles
is to
out,
start
unlike
adding
Roblox.
game creation tools in something like Minecraft, which is essentially, if you're not familiar, I imagine most people are, but Minecraft is digital Legos. It has some interesting kind of mechanisms that you can play around with. It has computers that you can build. People have done all sorts of crazy stuff using the computer system, built-in computer system within Minecraft over the years. I don't know how feasible it would be to turn that into a game making system, but that could be what they are trying to do. I don't know if that's specifically what they're going to try to do, but what they are definitely doing is investing more in it as a platform, which is why Mojang is going to report directly to Asha Sharma rather than having that layer of middle management. Previously, I believe they had reported to Matt Booty, who then reported to Asha Sharma. Now they're cutting other people out of that equation, cutting the studio's chief out of that equation. Worth noting, by the way, Matt Booty is not mentioned in Asha Sharma's email today, although there are a couple other people mentioned. She mentions that a woman named Helen Chang, who actually ran Mojang for a while, is being promoted to the chief operating officer at Xbox and given a bunch of new responsibilities overseeing P&Ls, etc. Another thing that they're mentioning, I mentioned, by the way, King is also going to report directly to Asha Sharma. Candy Crush, I think they also view as a platform that has its own kind of like potentials for the future and future investment and whatnot. Again, I think that a lot of this is about investing more in the biggest platforms and the biggest franchises. One of the things I think is
the big names, so they can see it, to make money. So they want to invest in the big names in order to continue to push them, make money. Notable names, notable platforms. So push those to bring in money. They're low key. They're kind of going down the I was gonna say Ubisoft, but Ubisoft hasn't really shown their hand in their plan for the restructuring. They're more going down the EA route. Remember, EA had that big change not too long ago. Not restriction, God damn it. I don't even know how to fucking word this. I could type, I swear. Like, cause like they said, they're gonna start focusing less on. Let's see. The push to maximize large scale titles involving. Yeah, so like they're gonna focus more on a lot of mine. It's also they're gonna focus more on sports games, so more Madden, more FIFA, and shit like that. But they're gonna focus less on the more smaller games, which I remember because I said like that kind of has me worried for fucking the next Mass Effect game. If they're gonna focus less on games like that and more on their big action shit, their battlefields, their Maddens, their footballs, the FIFA and all that shit. They're gonna focus more on that and really stop doing the more smaller, sort of indie fuck you, Verge. I ain't subscribing to shit. But yeah, that's what the change was. So it seemed like Microsoft is going down that
worth
route.
noting as
Where
part
now
of
they want
this,
to
and
focus
trust
on
me,
their
there will be
big
more to say in the
tentpole
future as
titles,
we see how this all
as
unfolds,
opposed
as
to
more
more of the
information comes
smaller
out.
indie stuff. So we could probably expect a lot more focus on, like I said, Fallout, Doom, like I said, Candy Crush, Minecraft, there's something else in my mind that's completely drawn a blank on me. They're the big guy Gears, and Halo. We can expect them to focus a lot more on those properties, going forward. Probably like Fable, depending on if it's very successful when it comes out.
Out as more reporting comes out, is that I'm going to read something. Asha Sharma writes in this memo, quote, as Xbox grew our headcount, we became more fragmented. Teams, studios, and functions often operate independently, and it became harder to work towards a shared goal, make the right trade-offs, and get things done. Essentially, what happened under Phil Spencer is that the studios that were purchased, a lot of them became what was known as limited integration studios. In other words, they were given a lot of autonomy to make their own decisions, decide what projects they wanted to make. They still had to go through a greenlighting process with the rest of Xbox, but they got a lot of power to just kind of run their businesses in the way they saw fit. They didn't want to change their cultures. You buy a company like Double Fine, you buy it because you want what Double Fine does, not because you want to integrate Double Fine into some Xbox board and change its culture and whatnot. It looks like that is going to change. And part of what Asha Sharma is aiming for here is more centralization, less independent, less autonomy among studios, more kind of central businesses, more quote unquote accountability, more decisions that do have to go through.
Yeah, they're marveling it. They're marveling it. They're gonna go to a formula. They're gonna find out what works. As soon as a game that follows a certain formula, they've seen that it works, that it takes off. They're probably just gonna rinse, repeat, cut, copy, and just repeat that formula going forward for all their games. Which is, it's gonna. I can see them going down the same route. Of course, the contemporaries that the PS3, I mean, the PlayStation is going through with a lot of their exclusives. How a lot of their games is that third person over the shoulder, very cinematic, very drama heavy, almost soap opera kind of games they got. Your God of Wars, your Uncharted, your Last of Us, how they kind of found that formula and it was like, okay, we just gonna do that again. We're gonna do that again. We're gonna do that with samurais. We're gonna do that, make it in space. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I can definitely see Xbox. They're gonna try some stuff, and then whatever they find actually works, they're just gonna take that, do it again, and reapply it to whatever you got. Yeah, they give you the base. You just put on whatever coat of paint and clothes you want to put on it to make it different and make it what you make it. But overall, it's going to be the same damn skeleton. So I definitely see that that happening. Like I said, Xbox is in such a weird spot. Like I said, just this whole table of shit that they kind of just did to themselves. It's kind of weird to judge. On one hand, I want to say that's kind of bad because now you're just kind of regurgitating the same shit. And now you aren't really going to be exploring things. Expedition 33 was phenomenal for the Xbox Game Pass. They didn't really advertise it too well, but now you're probably going to get a lot less games like that, which is going to hurt more smaller developers like Sandfall Interactive to have a platform to do more small-time, AA, very art-driven single-player games like that. But on the other hand, again, a mess Xbox made on all on their own. They need wins, and they need money, and they need that shit right motherfucking now. So on one hand, I understand it, but on the other hand, it's like, just focus on making good fucking games. Whether it's AA, whether it's AAA, what the fuck ever. Whether you want to focus on franchises or you want to give new IPs a chance, just have motherfuckers focus on making good games. That's what gives you wins. If you make a good fucking game, there's a good... Actually, okay, you know what I say? I do want to say, you make a good game, it enhances your chances of succeeding. Granted, you got to do other shit. You got to look at your competition. You got to look at, what's coming out around the same time. Because again, we're entering this state in the gaming industry where games aren't just failing because they're bad. They could be a great game, but they're failing because sales and because they're not really focusing on what the competition is. Perfect example, The Fall. September of this year, there's so many damn games coming out in the same very small window of time. There's going to be multiple games that fail to sell what they're expecting to sell because nobody has the money and the time to play every fucking thing. I already said I'm super worried about Onimusha because for me it's like, I know I'm getting Wolverine and I'm super psyched for Control Resident, And that kind of leaves Onimusha, kind of just, the ass out in the wind out there. So it's like, there's going to be games that aren't going to work because the competition is so much now. And you really need to be aware of who is around you, what's come out. Did a multiplayer game just release a month before you did, and now it's got the attention of the entire internet, that now you might struggle to sort of get the audience you were going for. That's all shit you gotta have to worry about now. But again, I think if they just focus on just making good games, it'll help. That's just the baseline of everything Xbox needs to focus on right now. Making good fucking games. So yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and finish off this article here as we wrap this up. Quote, things are about a bigger future for Xbox, not a smaller one, she wrote. This year we'll invest as much in Xbox as we ever have, but we'll invest with greater focus, greater discipline, and greater clarity. All in service of making Xbox where the world plays and creates. They've already laid off thousands of staff and canceled many projects since closing the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Even subsidiaries that make popular games like Candy Crush or Call of Duty have been impacted by the ongoing job cuts. Bloomberg previously reported that Double Fine, Compulsion, Ninja Theory were among. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So there you go. About
the overall chain, and ultimately lead up to Asha Sharma and her leadership team, and I suspect that will lead to a very different sort of Xbox. It remains to be seen, and we'll see in the coming months and years what that ultimately means for their ability to release hit games and make an organization that people want to work for. But that's what the new strategy is. One final thought: it's clear that something needed to change at Xbox. Xbox was not headed in the right direction. Xbox was a struggling business. It was not attaining the growth that it needs in order to succeed under a company like Microsoft. This is the big swing, the first of the big swings, the big reset, as Asha Sharma calls it. And I think no matter what you might see on the internet, whether it's people celebrating or doom and gloom, I think the actual reality here is we do not know how this is going to play out in the medium to long-term future. We do not know what this is going to look like for Xbox's ability to make games and sell hardware and reach people and make players happy. I think that it would certainly, they certainly could use some more hit games, and if it leads to that, I think players will eventually get to celebrate. But right now we do not know. The only thing we do know is that a lot of people are losing their jobs. They're heading into a market that is extremely tumultuous.
And it's already fucking overcrowded because it's already been so many job losses. In the market as it is now, there's already been so many jobs lost. So the fact that we now have more people flooding into this market isn't the most ideal situation. So that definitely fucking sucks.
It's extremely difficult to find work in, and it is going to be a really difficult time for 1,600 people today and another 1,600 over the coming months as we enter Microsoft's next fiscal year. So I guess I will ask one thing, which is that out there, just do have a little bit of empathy for the people who are losing their jobs and are entering a market where it has been very difficult to continue to find work in gaming, even as much as you might want to. All right, there will be more to come. Make sure you check out my work on Bloomberg and check out the previous video I did. I'll link that in the show notes if you want to see if you want to know more about how we got here and how Xbox got to this point. I will see you next time.
All right, thank you, Jason. So there you have it. That's Xbox hitting the reset button. A lot of people losing their jobs, as he mentioned before. I'm not gonna lie. If there is to look at the silver lining of everything, it's definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, I fully expected Compulsion, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Undead Arcane. I expected them to just cut their losses, cut the fat. Like, hey, they're shuttered. Everybody's let go. The studio's closing down. Good luck in your future endeavors. Granted, there are still people losing their jobs. There's going to be people, it's not going to be the best sort of morale situation over at Xbox, as these 32,000 people are let go as we go throughout the year. Of course, being let go into a highly competitive market, a highly volatile market as we are right now, as the industry before our very eyes is shifting and changing in ways that aren't the best as of right now. So yeah, it's a crazy time. But I will say, at least luckily, Compulsion, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and Undead are still here. They're still around. They will still be able to make games. How far they go, especially for Compulsion and Double Fine, which are independent now, will remain to be seen. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Arcane Studios. Again, please, man, we need that Blade game. We need that Blade game. But yeah, so that is it for the Xbox reset. Again, like I said, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. This video might come out first because it's more topical right now. So I'm gonna have another video going up where I sort of talk about the domino effects of how kind of things have led us into this very bleak outcome, the darkest timeline for gaming we're living in right now, with you know, Rockstar and the pre-orders for GTA 6, especially Sony and PlayStation with the news of them getting rid of physical discs. So be on the lookout for that. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube bullshit. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of this brand new reset for Xbox, what the future may hold. Are you hopeful? Are you excited? Are you worried? Let me know down in the comments below. By the way, I will say again, I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit, but I know a lot of people after the Game Pass price lowering and then them having that really great summer showcase, a lot of people were jumping on that Asha train real quick. I was very adamant and like, I don't know, y'all. We gotta wait and see where we are a year or two from now before we really see how she's doing as the lead of Xbox. Them stocks is looking pretty damn good right now. But anyway, that's it for me. Always remember, stay watching, stay playing, stay awesome. Of course, most importantly, y'all stay safe out there. Until next time, everybody, I'll talk to you later. Deuces.